And we are live, and good morning to another edition of the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. The Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show is brought to you by the Nick Abraham Auto Mall, located at Route 57 in Broad Street in Elyria. Joining us this week is also Stewart's Appliance, Cobos Insurance Centers, and EcoTree Services. I am Jared Kozar, joined by Tom Evans here this Saturday morning in the palatial Rob Polinsky office at the Chronicle Telegram. Well, more on that as the morning moves along, Tommy. But a huge night in terms of high school football and some really prolific scoring going on in the area last night. Great matchups, and we were on hand for, I think, one of the county's best games. And Rocco Nushi and Mike Rush on hand for another one. They kind of worked the three-man booth. Craig Couch got in there as well, but I was really impressed with our bandolier of games, if you will.
Well, I knew you weren't going to be able to keep Couch out of that press box for the North Ridgeville game.
You can.
Last night seemed to be the defense optional week of the high school football schedule, with the exception of the game that we worked. We had some defense at times in our game, but really offense was just off the charts last night around the county.
Boy, it was, and we'll get things started. We'll give you the score breakdown here. I'll get you through the SWC scores, and then Tommy will take you through the Lorain County League. Some scores of note elsewhere, and Tommy will wrap us up with Medina County, and we'll talk more Medina County football later on in the program as Michael Keefe will join us at about 10:10. But Tommy, as you mentioned last night over at Olmsted Falls, a good one. Olmsted Falls gets the better of Avon Lake, 25-21. We were on hand for that one. We'll catch up with Tom DeLuca coming up this morning at 9:20. It was North Ridgeville not all over Berea Mid Park, but coming from behind to get a win in that one, 42-35, as they were able to take care of Berea Mid Park late in that one. Rocco Nushi was on hand. We'll lead things off with Brian Morgan here coming up in just a couple of moments at about 9:10. Amherst downs Elyria 47-16. Interesting number in that one. Amherst quarterback Cy Christensen goes over 7,000 yards for the career. Quite an accomplishment. Tom Dome will join us in hour number 2 to discuss that accolade. Avon just keeps rolling. They blank the Middies of Midview 52-0.
And as we move over to the LCA, Columbia big over Oberlin 48-14. Keystone up 35-0 over Wellington. That sets up that matchup that we'll have on the YouTube game of the week next week. Columbia over at Keystone. In other LCA actions, Clearview up 34-6 over top of Brookside. And in a back-and-forth game, a game that neither team ever led by more than 7, Black River finishes on top of Firelands 40-33 last night.
It's going to be interesting to catch up with Kyle Clark later on this hour. He'll share his thoughts on that one. I think we're going to be very impressed with that conversation. Certainly the Black River Pirates getting back on track there. Elsewhere, it was Lake Catholic blanking Elyria Catholic 26-0. Lorain with a victory over Shaker Heights 19-14, first league win for Lorain. So hats off to James Boyce and company, efforting a conversation with him in hour number 2 of the program. And boy, Tommy, a wild one. Port Clinton and Vermilion go to 5 overtimes to decide it. Port Clinton comes away with the victory in that 5th overtime by a score of 29-28.
That's one of those where you're just trying to catch your breath after the game. Another action from around the area down in Medina County. Cleveland Heights 42, Medina 28. Brunswick over top of Euclid 17-16. The Buckeye Bucks stay hot, and they beat Westlake 52-16 last night. Norton over top of Cloverleaf 48-21. And Wadsworth doubles up on Hudson 35-17.
Boy, Tommy, 7 weeks of high school football in the books, and you really wouldn't know it. I think the weather might have something to do with that when we're looking at an 80-degree Saturday in the first week of October. But, you know, when you go through some of those scores and the numbers, we're really starting to see a playoff picture take shape. I'm sure we'll talk about it with some of our guests as we move along through the morning. But, you know, you brought up a couple of good points heading into last night's game that, I thought were just, pretty telling about, some of the playoff pictures that are there at the halfway point, a little bit more of the season.
Well, if you take a look at the SWC going into last night's action, now understand this is with the reduced 12-team playoffs. We cut 4 teams out of it. 7 of the 8 SWC teams, if the playoffs had started last night, would have been in the playoffs. That's absolutely mind-blowing at that point in time. They spread around some divisions a little bit. Midview's moved down to Division 3. You got a couple Division 1s in Berea Mid Park and Elyria, and everybody else log jams that Region 6 Division 2 with Avon Lake, and that whole crew. But 7 of the 8 would have been in the playoffs. Now they're going to beat each other up for the next 3 weeks, too, to see who ends up there. But really, really tough go in the SWC as we come down the stretch.
Yeah, that you're starting to see some separation, but again, it's pretty close at the top. Always seems like it is this time of year, but and I think that's really telling when you look at the improvements of a program like Midview, where granted did not go the way they wanted to last night. You played Avon, but they're in the conversation where in years past maybe that wasn't the case. Especially when you think about the 12 teams as opposed to the 16, and I think there's going to be a little bit more of a sentiment with that the 12 is where they wanted it to go. They mean the coaches and a lot of the people that are involved in making those type of decisions. Initially, when we went from the 8 to the 16, the expanded playoffs are great, but maybe the 12 is a more manageable number. Now, I know you and I remember going to Vermillion last year and saying that's a prime example of how the 16 worked. But I think we'll get some different opinions as we move along.
And I think the other factor is that you're going to now move a bye weekend where that's something they've never had to deal with before. Some teams, Ignatius, because they can't fill out a 10-game schedule, sometimes, are playing a 9-game schedule, but not on purpose. So there's a bye week worked in, and there's some magic to keeping the kids engaged and having them ready. I know everybody talks about, bye week, that's great, where kids are going to get some rest. They'll come back a little bit fresher, but you got to keep them on edge and keep them at a certain point, because you just can't – they're not a wind-up doll. You can't wind them up on the next Friday night and say, let's go play football.
Well, one of the things that I think is going to be maybe something that we noticed there when we went down that scoring rundown, you mentioned not having a whole schedule. You noticed when Tom read his scores throughout Medina County, there was nobody from Highland. We did not get a Highland score last night. So the Red Hot Highland Hornets get that bye. I know it wasn't what they intended, but Barberton not able to match up with them this week just due to some personnel issues. And what does that do to the momentum of a ball club that's just firing on all cylinders?
Well, obviously, from everything I've read, it made Highland pretty angry. So I don't know that I want to be Highland's next opponent. We know how good they are. We know what a test they gave Avon last year in the playoff. They lost very little. That's a very good team, which plays into the reason why there wasn't a game last night. I think Barberton felt like they were showing up for a gunfight with a plastic knife, and which is why the game didn't take place. But I think you're going to see a very, very angry Highland team. Tom Gibbons will have them ready, and I don't know that I want to be the next team on their schedule.
Boy, I couldn't agree more. And, I thought Ron made a really good point last night when we were talking about some of the success stories around the area, certainly in the Medina County, that he remembered calling that game the regional final over at Elyria last year between Avon and Highland. And he said, quite frankly, whoever wins that game goes on to be the state champion in D2 in his mind. And I think that speaks volumes about where that Highland program has gone and what it's risen to and where it continues to go. So we'll probably catch up more with regards to the Highland program in Medina County football with Michael Keefe coming up in hour number 2 as he gives us his breakdown of some of the things that have gone on and what's happened in that area. But certainly a lot to talk about, a lot to keep going on, and some great guests lined up throughout this morning. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're looking for Brian Morgan of the Ridgeville Rangers in what was a wild game on WEOL.com Stream 2 last night. The Rangers, they were in the game the whole time, but it was sort of like it was a 2-score game at one point. You thought that Berea Midpark might be pulling away, and that was not the case. A great second-half effort for the Rangers. We hope to catch up with Coach Morgan here in a few moments to get that one straightened out here on WEOL.com, and you are watching us streaming the WEOL and the Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel, and we are looking to get Coach Morgan coming back on the other side of this break.
At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, this month you choose. Right now, get the Escape, Mach-E, Mustang, or Bronco Sport for only $399 a month with 0 down, or the Bronco, Explorer, or F-150 for just $499 a month. At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, we make it that easy.
Ohio Mutual Insurance Group has been a leader in the farm insurance industry since 1901. With more than 100 years of experience, Ohio Mutual's farm products have evolved to meet the needs of 21st century farm owners. At Cobos Insurance Agency, we can help you protect what matters most. Whether you own a small farm with 5 acres or a large operation with thousands of acres, we can provide the coverage you need. Give us a call at 324-3732. We would welcome the opportunity to meet your farm insurance needs. Ohio Mutual, modern insurance for modern farmers. High school football in Lorain County is all about tradition, pride, and community, and that's what Stewart's Appliance is built on. For generations, Stewart's has been the family-owned appliance store you can count on for quality products and personal service. From refrigerators to washers, ovens to dishwashers, Stewart's has what you need to keep your home running. Proud to support Lorain County and proud to support high school sports. Stewart's Appliance, where community comes first.
And we welcome you back to the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Jared Kozar along with the coach, Tom Evans. And speaking of coach, we're going to welcome the coach of the Ridgeville Rangers, Brian Morgan. We're going to get him on here. And, Coach, good morning. Welcome to the program. Heck of a ball game last night. You guys come out on top 42-35 in what's become a pretty good rivalry with Berea Mid-Park.
Yeah. Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, two weeks in a row where we have a back and forth football game and have to have a defensive stand on fourth down with on the 5-yard line to win it. So it's been an exciting 2 weeks of football for North Ridgeville.
Brian, this is one of those, were you just so wired you stayed up all night, or were you exhausted and passed out after the game last night from all that offense?
You know, it's Kevin, you know, I have Coach Kevin Fell on my staff, guy with so many years and wins in football. And he says it the best is, you know, when you win, you almost can't sleep more than when you lose. And you got a big smile on your face and you just think about all the things that, you know, got you there and things that could have gone wrong. And just really proud of the guys that, you know, stepped up last night. We had some injuries. There's some guys playing in positions for the first time. And, you know, we didn't have a very good first quarter, and the guys really rallied and stayed with it the entire game. So I'm proud of our seniors. I'm proud of our captains. And like you said, it was a very exciting night. Tough to go to sleep, but excited that we came out with the win.
Brian, I'm proud of you. 1,100 yards of total offense last night, and you mentioned defense in your first sentence. So talk to us about the offensive night for the Rangers last night. Your quarterback rushes for 209 yards. You put up 483 yards of offense last night. Tell us about that offensive performance by the Rangers last night.
Yeah, you know, I told our coaches right before the game, if Cole Miller has a great game, we could win. If he has a mediocre game, we're going to lose. And he had a great game. You know, he was able to run the ball. He found guys on scrambles when they were open, and just the dual threat stuff. I mean, it's going to be really tough to stop him with the ability to get out of the pocket, to make plays with his feet and still cover guys downfield. You have to try to figure out whether you want to stop him running or throwing. And you know, he had a great game last night. Dylan DeShazo has had you know, 2 really good games back to back. He's kind of in the shadows because of Cole's stats and Cole being able to be a part of almost every single touchdown. But, you know, Dylan had a great catch for us last week, 146 yards receiving. He scored a touchdown receiving this week and scored a touchdown on the ground too. So, you know, we really like our skill guys being able to make some plays in space. And, you know, like we said, we came in with an inexperienced offensive line, and they get better each week.
Brian, you mentioned Dylan DeShazo, and there's a guy that you basically referenced keeps getting better every week. Talk about the steps that a person like that makes when you mentioned you're a little bit banged up, personnel not available to you, and in a game where you're facing adversity, that young man faced some himself and was really able to turn the tide for you.
Yeah, you know, that was, we were talking about it last night, is Dylan is a great example to our younger guys of a guy who's patient and waits for his opportunity. And, you know, Dylan was a JV player last year as a junior. And, you know, he had a great offseason, great track season, and, you know, put it all together this year. A guy that just continued to get good reps on Saturday mornings. And he's doing it all now. And, you know, his brother was the DeShazo that everybody knew last year, starting at middle linebacker for us and our kicker. And, you know, he's just able to get the ball and make some things happen when he's in space now.
Coach, you know, Rocco couldn't say enough about the atmosphere last night. Certainly he was happy to be on hand, as was Mike Rush. And, of course, Craig Couch, you know, basically covers you by he's the Ridgeville correspondent for our coverage unit, if you will. And so, you know, those guys just couldn't say enough about the environment. It's homecoming. It's special. And just that feeling in the air that, you know, you guys can really make noise in terms of not only the conference, but when you look ahead to, other goals you guys have still ahead of you.
Yeah, the beating Division I team, at home on homecoming, that in 4-2 record. A lot of people looked at our record and they see teams that we beat, and they know that we didn't play the toughest teams at the beginning of the year, and this one was legit. They have Division I, college football players on their team, and although we did give up about 650 yards of offense to them, we were able to play with them and make the plays when we needed to make them. And I think it gives our guys a lot of confidence going into these last 3 weeks.
Coach, I've been involved in those games where you feel like you have to score every time you touch the football. And sometimes you have that feeling going into a game. Sometimes you're midway through the game and you say, we better make best use of it. You went to the extent of recovering 2 onside kicks to keep their offense off the field. Tell me, did you guys kind of feel that way going in, or was there a point in this game you said, boys, we're going to have to put the ball in the end zone every time we touch it? Tell us about, the kind of pressure that puts on you as a coach every time you have your hands on the ball.
Yeah, it was a stressful week, because that's what on Monday we talked about. We have to be efficient offensively, because with the weapons that Brea Midpark has, they're going to score. They did it against Avon the week before. They got guys that, I think when our defense is on the field, I think that they had 4 of the fastest guys on the field. And, we saw that last night. They get the ball in space, they can make plays. So, sometimes your best defense is your offense. And, we saw things on film that we liked about the onside kicks. We were going to wait until they deferred, and so we had the ball to begin the game. We knew that coming out in the second half that we could get some extra possessions. And Finley Keller is having a great year as our kicker, putting the ball pretty much 11 yards on an onside kick and recovering himself both times is pretty tough to do, and he did it 2 times in a row. And that kind of set the tone in the second half. Get them off the field. Give our offense, even though that we didn't score on those 2 onside kicks, it just limited their ability to score. So, we were really glad that, coming out in the second half, that we could get that momentum swing.
And the momentum swing that you mentioned, just with that, what does it do for the kids in terms of their believability and their own efforts to be able to come up with a play like that, or plays in that situation where you can buy your defense a little bit of a breather and keep them on the field?
Yeah, I think that if we go down and score those 2 times on the onside kick, I think it, kind of blows the game open. But for the most part, our kickoff teams, I'm the special teams coordinator. So, when we go out there for our kickoff, I can see it in their eyes. Those guys are hungry to go get the football. They're asking me, they were trying to get me to do it a 3rd time, but I think they had 9 guys within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage there for Brea Midpark. So I was like, I don't know if this is going to work a 3rd time, guys. But, then all of a sudden they move up and the coverage, down the field is easier. So if we can be a weapon on special teams, we have to take advantage of it.
Brian, before we let you go, we've got your buddy, Tom DeLuke. I know you guys are pretty close. Did he do you a favor, or did he put you in a bad spot last night with his team's win over Avon Lake, who is your opponent next Friday?
Yeah, we knew that it was going to be a battle for that week. And, I'm pretty good friends with Matt Kostonik as well. And, I'm an Avon Lake resident. So, I knew that the 2 teams were going to come in prepared. They're well coached and have very good programs. So, I think that the SWC this year is we talk about it being tough every single year, but now it's even more tough. There's a lot of teams that are sitting, in that second level, obviously Avon being above everybody else. And, a lot of teams in that second level that are fighting and have the ability to win games. And it's going to be a really fun next 3 weeks. And, not just in the games that we play, but all throughout the conference.
Coach, we mentioned it before you came on the air that had the playoffs started last night, even with the reduced down to 12 teams, 7 of the 8 teams in the SWC would have been in the playoffs. And that just speaks volumes for the quality of football being played in the SWC right now.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing that stinks about it is, you get into the playoffs, you're more than likely going to play one of those teams again, and you don't want to play a team in the SWC 2 times in one season. So, it's going to be interesting with the 12 teams this year and the buys in the first round. And we're just happy to be a part of it. We're happy to be in the hunt and hungry to make sure that we can win some more games down the stretch.
Well, certainly, last night, if that's any indication, you guys and your Ridgeville Rangers squad, they have your sights set on some really big things, and the means to get there, Coach. So thank you for joining us this morning, and certainly looking forward to seeing how you guys go down the stretch. It's going to be a nice ride. You guys are right there at the top with everything still in line. So, congratulations to you and your staff and your guys, and here's hoping for another nice week.
Thanks, guys. It's always great to talk to you on Saturday mornings.
It's our pleasure. Thanks. That's Brian Morgan with the North Ridgeville Rangers. And Tom, they moved to 6-1. And you think about, obviously he referenced that Avon's right there. They're at the top. But, you got to think, you start to look at your 1As around this time of year. And they put themselves in a nice position last night.
Well, and there's no easy games left on the schedule for North Ridgeville. They're going to have to bring it every week if they're going to maintain one of those top 4 positions and maybe get that bye in the first round of the playoffs.
Tremendous work by he and his staff. And we referenced Tom DeLuca in our last conversation with Brian. Again, they're good friends. They, a lot of these guys are pretty close, but I think it's a pretty good relationship collegiately between Coach DeLuca and Coach Morgan. So it makes it a little bit more special as well. So we're going to just bring on Tom right now in a game that you and I were on hand for last night over at Olmsted Falls in a terrific environment, a homecoming game as well. And, I'm sure that they're very happy with the outcome over there in Falls Country this morning. It was one heck of a football game. 25-21, Olmsted Falls emerges victorious over Avon Lake. Tom, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And again, thanks again for last night. You treated Tom and I and Ron Yantz and Gary Pelcher to just a really classic October feel of football. It might have felt like summer outside, but it had that fall appeal to it in terms of you and the Shoremen matching up and just playing a really quality football game.
Yeah, it was a great high school game, great high school environment. It's what high school football is all about, and in those type of games, you never want to. I mean, it's just unfortunate that one of the teams has to lose because I think both teams battled so hard, put so much into the game, But it was a great game for everyone that was able to watch.
Tom, if you take away waiting to get into the stadium and getting out afterwards, it's one of my favorite settings in high school football over at Olmsted Falls.
Yeah.
But
we got to figure that out.
But Jared thought that I had a helicopter that was going to bring us in and out last night. We could, but there was no place to land it. There were so many cars over there. It's just a great atmosphere. Tom, you guys uncharacteristically the last couple of weeks have had some turnovers, and of all the teams I've ever covered in high school football, you guys are probably the least penalized team I've ever watched play high school football. And yet early on last night, you had some penalties and you had some turnovers. Were you saying, oh, no, here we go again? But then you did put that outstanding drive together.
Yeah, I mean, the past 3 weeks, last night's second half was much better, but the past 3 weeks, you're right, you're spot on. Turnovers and penalties, and they've been drive killers for us, especially in the red zone. And, we came out last night. We had a nice drive in the beginning, but really, I mean, we had a instance where we got a holding call in that drive, and we were able to overcome it. But we have to really, focus in on playing cleaner football as far as the penalties and the turnovers go. We cannot allow ourselves to get behind the sticks. Giving teams opportunities. I was listening to Coach Morgan there. Everybody in our conference is so good. If you give them an opportunity, they're going to take advantage. And so we have to do a better job of getting back to us playing good, solid football with the least amount of penalties and turnovers possible.
Tom Singleton comes away with 103 yards, but he gets a little bit banged up before halftime. Pesh comes out, runs the ball really well in the second half. I thought Conley had an outstanding game. And Pesh was 6 for 9 for 113 yards. Talk to us about did his little ankle injury, did that kind of change the way you went about things in the second half? Because you really spreading the ball around and kind of opened the offense up a little bit in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I think going into the game, we wanted to get Conley a few more touches, and he did a great job last night. Owen is he's so tough, and, he's been a workhorse for us, and I think, he just, got nicked up a little bit there, and Owen Radigan came in and helped us out there too as well, giving him a little bit of time, some spells here and there. But as far as spreading it out, I think we just – when we get presented a defense, we take a look at how we can attack that defense and do the best of our ability with that. We hit that big post for a touchdown to Adam. That obviously was something we were looking at throughout the game, and finally hit one of those. And it was a big momentum change in the game as far as I was concerned.
Coach, when you think about it, to start that second half, Avon Lake comes out there, big 60-plus yard run to really make a statement and put up their final points of the game. What nobody really thought about at the time, they would not score again after that. And just if somebody wasn't familiar with what went on in that ball game, didn't follow any of the updates, and they know that Avon Lake came out and scored first in the second half, and it was on a 60-plus yard run. Yeah. What would be your thought process on what changed after that for you guys to say not again tonight?
Well, I don't really think a whole lot changed. I think in credit to them, on their run, it was a nice play. The running back made a nice play. I think we got out. We didn't hit the proper gap for us, and they made us pay for it. And I thought coming off the field, our guys did a good job. Like, hey, as long as we're gap sound and we have our gap integrity, we're going to be good. If our run fits are there, I thought we had some good adjustments at halftime that we did, and so it was one of those things where I think they got us on one, and a good football team is going to do that. We just have to make sure that we settle down. We knew if we come back out and get a good drive going there at the start of that fourth quarter, I think going for two give us a little bit of momentum. I think it was the right call as far as we're down 11 and our chart says go for it and try to give us an opportunity. In the end, if we're down 3 to kick the field goal. So those things, shift momentum. I thought we had a good beat on them defensively in the second half.
In a great play to come away with that 2-point conversion, as Tom Evans mentioned in our ball game last night during the broadcast. In 20-plus years with our organization, and I'm being familiar with Olmsted Falls, I don't think I've ever seen a 70-plus yard touchdown pass come from the Bulldogs. You had great quarterback play.
Yeah, Cam, he really had a great night last night. And you can look at the first half. I know he bobbled the one, fumbled the one ball away, and but I'll tell you what, he was really on his reads. Last week was a tough week of practice, coming off of a tough loss, and I challenged our kids daily, and they responded. We tried to put them in tough situations all week, and they did a great job. And last night, it paid off. We were in a tough situation. We're down 11 in the fourth quarter, and our kids responded. They didn't waver. They just kept playing, kept plugging away, and Cam hit that big pass, which was great. So
I just thought that Cam keeping the option a couple times in the second half made some beautiful runs. But I think the fact that kind of he got hit, he almost upped his intensity a little bit after he made a couple nice runs, and you could almost feel his kind of confidence grow there in the third quarter after he kept a couple of those options. Tom, it just looked like he stepped his game up, when he got his pads knocked a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think it was one of those things like, you kind of wake up, you get the physical nature of the game. It can go one of two ways, either you're going to step back or you're going to continue forward and keep moving forward. And I think he did that. And, like you said, they were hitting him, and he just kept getting stronger and stronger as he was running, gaining confidence, and that was a big thing. And you know how that goes. I feel like in a high school football game, when your kids start to gain confidence, they start to gain the momentum. That's a hard thing for an opponent to deal with. And I thought he did a great job of that last night, talking about Cam.
Well, Coach, always good to catch up with you. You treated us to a great experience last night over at your place. We can't thank you enough for that, and certainly great to catch up with you this morning after some of that sunk in and get your thoughts on that one. So good luck to you and your Bulldogs as the season rolls along. Great win last night.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom.
Yep.
And that's Tom DeLuca, head coach of the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs. And, boy, they they got back on track in a big way last night, Tommy, coming off of a tough one against Amherst last week that you and Ron got to check out. And their ability to just really dictate the pace in that second half was very impressive.
And they go out of the frying pan to the fire. The
Right.
Battle of Bagley Road next week as they travel down to Finney Stadium to take on Berea Mid-Park. And a tale of two different teams. You know, Berea Mid-Park's a team that spreads it out and throws it all over the place, and Tommy's going to kind of grind it out and just keep kind of coming at you. I'm looking forward to seeing that one next week.
Funny how that works. He took care of Avon Lake for Morgan, and Morgan took care of Berea Mid-Park for him. So the Hornets' nest has been kicked over for both of those ball clubs. We're going to take a quick time out. On the other end of the break, we're going to come back. We're going to catch up with Chris Ossenheimer of the Chronicle Telegram, talk kind of some Guardians wrap-up of that season, as well as Chris very looped into what's going on high school football-wise, so we'll kind of put him into double duty. Stick around. It's next on the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show on the Chronicle YouTube Telegram YouTube page. And Tom, it's also online at
WEOL.com.
At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, this month you choose. Right now, get the Escape, Mach-E, Mustang, or Bronco Sport for only $399 a month with 0 down. Or the Bronco, Explorer, or F-150 for just $499 a month. At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, we make it that easy.
In the year 1901, New York became the first state to require automobile license plates. The first Nobel Peace Prize ceremony was held in Sweden, and Ohio Mutual Insurance Group was founded. At the Cobos Insurance Agency, we're proud to represent Ohio Mutual, a company with more than a century of experience. We can help you select the best coverage to help protect your auto, home, farm, or business. Call us at 324-3732. We'd love to evaluate your insurance needs and recommend the best coverage from the best companies, like Ohio Mutual. Since 1901, keeping the promises that secure dreams.
Welcome back to the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. It's Jared Kozar and Coach Tom Evans. We're now joined by Chris Ossenheimer with the Chronicle Telegram, the Medina Gazette, and he covers the Cleveland Guardians and, all things high school football as well this time of year for Chris. Chris, thanks for taking some time this morning to catch up with us.
No problem. How you guys doing?
Real good so far. We wish that there was still going to be baseball played this afternoon and that the Guardians would be out there on the West Coast facing the Seattle Mariners. It was not to be. Their season came to a close Thursday afternoon over at Progressive Field. But, now that it's had a couple of days to sink in on us, and certainly you with your familiarity with the ball club, they got literally, a few runs, few outs, whatever you want to look at it, away from advancing to a divisional series. And, 10 days ago, I don't know if anybody really believed that could be the case.
Yeah, I think that's why you have to look back at this season and say it was a success. I mean, sure, you wanted to go farther in the playoffs, but the fact that they even got there, I mean, I said so many times during the season, these guys are finished. This season's over. And every single time they came back. And so, I mean, overcoming the largest deficit ever in Major League history and chasing the Tigers down the way they did, you thought maybe they had Detroit's number. But as I wrote, I said, all it takes is 2 wins for Detroit to have its revenge. And that's certainly what came around. But, I mean, to look back at that season, I don't see how you see it anything other than a success. And I know World Series is the goal every year, but every team says that. And not only one gets it. So I gotta say it was a successful season. And you can also say, why didn't they add something in the off season to come back after an ALCS? But I mean, that's nitpicking. That season was incredible.
Chris, one of the things that I think that you probably, somebody like yourself, I don't want to assume, but you think, what was tougher? Maybe Tuesday's game, not getting a run across when you had Ramirez on third in with nobody down, or was it a situation where just you're running out of gas Thursday afternoon and the bullpen being kind of stretched to its limits and just, the smoke and mirrors portion of the season, I think, had revealed itself at that point. I tend to think that your best chance in the series was probably coming away with something positive on Tuesday afternoon with that runner with Jose at third and nobody down.
Yeah, in that situation, sure. But I think going into game one, I mean, no one expects to lose, but when you're facing Skubal,
right,
you can almost put that down as a loss. So I don't think they expected to win that game anyway. I think what you said about the bullpen running out of gas in the clinching game on Thursday. I think that's more of what happened, and they needed more out of Ciccone than they got. That wasn't their plan. Their plan was to go to Cantillo and then turn it over to, Gaddis and Smith, and it wouldn't have turned out well for Gaddis anyway, as we saw.
Yeah.
But I just think that they were used so much, and and once again they didn't hit. They didn't hit, and Scuba wasn't on the mound this time around. So you got to score, and they had scored one run apiece. I think they had scored one run, through the one run in game one, and then they had one run until the 8th inning, I think, in game 3. So you can't do that and win a playoff series. You got to score.
Chris, I'm going to go back to what you talked about. First of all, I'm going to stop listening to talk radio because with all the people whining and complaining at the end of the week, I went back to April, and I remember the national prognosticators. Nobody had the Guardians any higher than third place. I think there was even one or two that had them as last in the division. And for this team to win a division title at the end of it, and then for all the yardbirds to start jumping in about they should have done this, they should have done that. I just think, and I was mad when I saw the prognostications. Yeah, we lost Naylor, the second baseman. I know Bieber was hurt, but how do you go from the championship series against the Yankees to picking them last in the division? There's still something about this team, and so when all the griping about the Dolans kind of came up at the end of the year, I thought, you know what, I got to tip my hat to them. They put it together, and this team made a run that nobody in April was talking about them being anywhere near the position that they'd be in.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I mean, you can't look at this season as anything other than a success. And listen, I think the reason they were picked so low is because even after they had got to the ALCS last year, they actually subtracted from their team. And there weren't a whole lot of people who believed in the Guardians last year. So coming into the season, they weren't going to get any credit, especially when they got rid of a guy who hit 30-plus home runs and drove in over 100 runs. But again, when you look back at this and then to come out of the gates, and it looked like they were proving those prognosticators right many points in the season. And each time, and it gets cliche, but these dudes did not quit. And there were so many chances, so many opportunities. You lose one of the members of your rotation, and a 3-time All-Star closer. You think you could have used him in the postseason? Although he probably wouldn't have been here because they would have traded him. But again, they get nothing for Clase, and they get nothing for a starting pitcher, and they still beat the odds. And it was just incredible. So I agree with you. Anybody angry about this season needs to check themselves, because again, yes, they didn't win the World Series, but again, only one team does. So got to look back at this as positive.
Yeah, well, one heck of a ride to be sure. When you look ahead, one more question about the Guards, and we'll switch gears to high school football, if that's okay, Chris. But roster-wise, I would say just, as a fan, you're looking at, I think what you got is what you got rolling into next year too, and that's not a bad thing when you see some of the maturity and the reps that have taken place, and then maybe your outfield with a healthy Valera and a healthy DeLautner. Those are the guys that are going to be there, and you don't have to go out and make that big off-season acquisition. It's going to be, we're going to play this hand that we drafted and we're dealt, and these guys are just going to get better, and you're going to see some improvement just by default.
I think that's true, but I really, really think they need at least one guy with pop in the middle of that lineup. Jose Ramirez, you saw it in this series. They didn't pitch to him because they didn't have to.
Yeah.
Right. You got another guy in there, and okay, like that's what happened with Naylor last year. They couldn't just focus on Jose because Naylor was hitting the ball out of the yard on a regular basis. They don't have that guy. And those young guys, you're right. We're gonna see all of them. Kafis, DeLauter, Valera. We're probably gonna see Bazana at some point. I think Gabriel Arias is probably not on this team next year.
Probably not.
I think Rocchio moves to short, and I think you see Bazana. I mean, it didn't look like he was ready this year, but who knows? Off season, spring training, that sort of thing. But I agree with you. That's what, for the most part, that's what we see is what we're getting. And I know this isn't their way. And if I was a fan, I wouldn't be optimistic. But man, it would sure be nice to have that 30-plus homer, 100 RBI guy in your lineup to protect, if it's just to protect Hosey alone.
Well, we'll see what happens as far as the offseason is concerned. Essentially, that started for the Guardians on Friday afternoon. So before we let you go, switch gears and talk about high school football, because I think as most of our listeners and people interact with our products know that you're very plugged into what goes on in all things sports here at the Chronicle Telegram and across our platforms. What have you seen in terms of maybe some things that you expected and maybe some surprises through 7 weeks of high school football?
Well, I mean, it starts and finishes with Avon, as you guys know. I mean, there's nobody in their class around here, and there hasn't been for a while. So they're the big dogs for sure. Kind of surprised to see Avon Lake. What are they, 3-4 or 4-3? I'm not sure what their record is.
Just 3-4.
3-4. Yeah, went to 3-4 last night.
Yeah.
Through 7 games, that's kind of surprising to see traditionally with Avon Lake. And I know they played some very good teams, so I've seen that. And Homestead Falls being one of them, and they could have easily won that game. But that's still, seeing that record, that's a little surprising. North Ridgeville, I think we thought they were going to be good. Vermilion, that was kind of a surprise. But that's probably it. There aren't, when you talk about Avon, it's just like that. There's never a surprise with them. They're just so good. Every year, tip of the cap to Mike Elder. I mean, the dude turned the entire program around, not just turned it around. I mean, turned it into a powerhouse. But I guess the most surprising thing if I think about it offhand, it would be Avon Lake, under 500 through 7 games.
Yeah, that's I think something that Tom and I discussed earlier and said, boy, they got to be thinking to themselves, what are our postseason prospects now over these last 3 weeks, and really fighting for their playoff lives. So it's just something you don't always associate with Avon Lake football.
Right.
So, Chris, we can't thank you enough for the time this morning. Appreciate everything. And again, people that want to interact with you can find you in the CT, in the Gazette, and you guys do a great job in your coverage of Guardians baseball. But there's just so much more that you bring to the table in terms of week in and week out coverage of local sports. So we thank you for your expertise this morning.
Thank you, guys. Good talking
Chris.
with you.
Great talking to you. Chris Ossenheimer with the Chronicle Telegram. And, you can always catch him on that e-edition, in the print product. Both publications, does a great job. And he'll have you up to date with all your Guardians action during the offseason as they look to get back to become – it'd be nice to be three-peat Central Division champions, and hopefully that's the case. Somebody's been waiting pretty patiently and knows enough about conference championships in his own right. Head coach of the Keystone Wildcats, Don Griswold. Coach Grizz joins us. Grizz, good morning. Welcome to the program. Might have you on mute, Grizz.
I'm back.
Yeah, there you go. He loves the format.
You can't mute
Classic
Grizz.
mix-up. No, I'm sitting in my truck at LaGrange Community Park watching my 7-year-old son playing his last flag football game. So it's a good weekend to be a Griswold and a Wildcat.
Well, Coach, good luck in this morning's contest. Hopefully it goes as well as yesterday evening's. You come away with a 35-0 win in a rivalry game over the folks just a little bit to the southwest of you in Wellington. But 35-0, again, that's a throw the records out, and, whatever your preparation is, it's a big-time game. And, you guys do all the things right to execute to come away with the W.
Yeah, for sure. The boys played probably the cleanest game we've played in a while. And, I just challenged them to play 2 halves of Keystone football. And they did for the most part. And when we do that, when we execute the way we're capable of, the scoreboard will take care of itself. Played really well on both sides of the ball, and just proud of the way we continue to improve and get better.
Grizz, I want to talk to you about the defensive effort last night. You give up 164 yards of total offense against a Brookside team that you knew was going to be a physical. Tell us about some of the standouts last night for that defensive squad.
Yeah, I thought our D line played really well. Went with a 3-down front. Riley Jackson in the middle playing nose for us, and big number 45 John Falte playing end. Just kept putting pressure. We're able to control the run game with only 3 down linemen. And then in the back half, number 5 senior Shane Olk just continues to get better and better. He has been just a foundational to our defense the last handful of years. He's led our team in tackles the last couple of years. Just an absolute stud. Got 2 more interceptions. One from Brendan Hagerman, who as a junior is playing football for the first time in a while since 8th grade. And number 7, sophomore Bobby Gurich. So we got a lot of guys playing well. Really understanding what the role is on defense. We're deep on that side of the ball, which is great. So yeah, they're just pinning their ears back. Kids play fast when they know what to do. So we keep it simple, see ball, get ball kind of thing. And I'm really proud of their effort.
Grizz, there's always a point when you look at your team preseason and there's always some question marks. Can this kid help us or not help us? And you just talked about a kid not coming out since the 8th grade. Are there some kids that now heading into week 8 that have, you said maybe back during 2 days that we don't know where he's going to fit in or if and how he's going to help us, that have now stepped up and really taken on a role for the Wildcats?
Yeah, unfortunately, there seems to be something in the water in Lorain County because there are a lot of season-ending injuries, not just on our team, but in other teams. No one's going to shed a tear for us, but we've lost 7 starters to season-ending injuries. And so when that happens, you're just forced to put kids in positions that you didn't know much about them. A lot of underclassmen, a lot of sophomores, handful of freshmen playing for us on Friday nights. This year is really about development and being thankful for the opportunities that we get because our club gets to see that tomorrow's not promised, certainly physically in this violent game. And so the guys that are currently healthy have a tremendous amount of gratitude and thankfulness that they are healthy and they're able to contribute. So it sucks, right? Because it's always the best kids, the hardest working kids that get injured. But they're also able to inspire their teammates. And it's been pretty neat to watch and lead and be a part of.
And Grizz, you talk about having to make adjustments and put guys in different situations. Call upon them maybe when, quite frankly, you might not believe they're ready yet, but they got to believe it. A guy that I always believe is ready, Wyatt McKee, another big game last night. And I know that's what you and your staff have come to expect out of that young man. But at the end of the day, these guys are high school football players. They've got high school kid problems that go on in terms of personal life, school, physically, everything like that. 7 weeks in, he's still churning out what you expect. And that's got to be something that, really tells you about what you're developing over there.
Yeah, Wyatt was sidelined for a couple of weeks with a high ankle sprain, which are very painful, and they just take time to heal. There's not much you can do for it. And he's been shot out of a cannon the last couple of weeks. Again, being sidelined for 2 weeks put a sense of urgency in his heart and his gut. And we're watching him run with a lot of confidence, a lot of violence. And I sure as heck glad that he wears purple because he's a gifted athlete for sure. But yeah, to your point, for sure, leading football programs, if people really knew what we did throughout the day, we're part social worker, part dad, part counselor, part assistant principal, all these different hats we wear simultaneously in our thousands of interactions each day. But it's also what makes it a lot of fun. God put me on this earth to coach young men and elite football teams, and golly, I'm sure glad he did.
Grizz, I had a longtime friend who were standing in the locker room one time after a game on a Friday night or a Saturday morning, and he looked at me, he said, just how crazy are we? We put our livelihoods in the hands of 16 and 17-year-olds performing on a Friday night or on a Saturday morning. Somebody's got to think we're nuts somewhere along the line. But as you just said, there's nothing more gratifying when it comes together.
100%. Developing young people, watching them mature and grow and learn from their mistakes, learn from their teammates' mistakes, be able to experience little breakthroughs, breaking edges, and their natural ability is so fulfilling for sure.
Grizz, we can't let you go without discussing it. There might be a big ball game in LaGrange next week. Tom and I talked about maybe that one we had right, and we circled it on the calendar preseason, but we're headed to your place. You got Columbia, and I think that's going to be just an awesome atmosphere. Always lives up to the expectations and the hype. Is this now becoming something where, we'll talk to Mike Rice in the second hour and probably get his thoughts. I'm guessing they're somewhat similar, that you guys are now maybe thinking this is Columbia week now?
Yeah, for sure. I love it, right? I love Coach Rice and Coach Durrani, Coach Bucher over there. We've known those guys a long time. They're quality humans, quality men. They run things the right way. Love Jay Ward, and I love what these Keystone Columbia games have been. It's everything that's right with small town football in Ohio and America, and certainly Southern Lorain County. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun one. No doubt about it. They present a number of challenges, especially with their scheme on offense. Chris Bucher's got them running really good defense. Obviously, we have all the data and all the numbers. So we are absolutely looking forward to this one. I know they are as well. We have a very healthy rivalry, very much respected, and love those guys. But golly, I want to beat the heck out of them this coming Friday.
So you get it.
Oh, that's great stuff. And you hit the nail on the head. I've said this before. Two of my favorite places to be at. We were out to your place for a playoff game, and we've been over to Columbia and other times. That is what small town football in Ohio is all about. The way that your crowds come out for both schools, the atmospheres in the stadiums, different setups, but it's really it's what small town football in Ohio, small town football in America is all about, and I just love it. And the respect that the two programs have for each other and the coaching staffs, and then the way the kids come out and just try to knock each other's heads off on a Friday night. It's just all good stuff.
Amen.
Well, Grizz, good luck to little Grizz this morning as you guys are out there. Hopefully that goes the way you need it to, and we are looking forward to seeing you and catching up out at your place next Friday evening.
Awesome, guys. Thank you. Have a great day. Have a great week. Go Bucks.
It's our pleasure. Go Bucks. And that's Don Griswold with the Keystone Wildcats. And, we're going to switch gears in a minute, but basically keep it at home. We're going to take a quick break. Kyle Clark's going to join us on the other side of that break. You talk about small-town football, but a big-time game. He and the Black River Pirates had one last night in pretty much classic fashion against Firelands. And we're going to get his thoughts on that on the other side of the break. It is the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. We are streaming live on the Chronicle Telegram YouTube page and online at WEOL.com. Jared Kozar and Tom Evans coming up in just a moment.
At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford this month, you choose. Right now, get the Escape, Mach-E, Mustang, or Bronco Sport for only $399 a month with 0 down. Or the Bronco, Explorer, or F-150 for just $499 a month. At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, we make it that easy.
Hi, Tim Elkhorn, radio voice of the Cavs. For several years, you've heard me talk about EcoTree Services on WEOL. Recently, I needed trees removed, so of course, I contacted EcoTree. They did an incredible job. The folks at EcoTree were timely, efficient, and the work was flawless. Take it from me. When your trees need attention or even require removal, contact EcoTree Services. Like me, you'll love their work. Find EcoTree Services online at ecotreeservices.com.
And welcome back to the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Jared Kozar alongside the coach, Tom Evans, and joining us now on the program, the victorious head coach of the Black River Pirates last night. His Pirates come away with a 40-33 win over the Firelands Falcons. That's Kyle Clark with Black River. Coach, good morning. Thanks for taking some time to catch up with us.
Oh, I appreciate you guys having me on. It feels good after a victory.
Well, certainly, and that one was a wild one. Coach Evans and I were talking about that not only this morning, but last night, just following your score and the updates. And I'm like, wow, these two teams are really going at it in a, just a good, healthy, classic Mid-American backyard brawl.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of one of those you felt whoever had the ball last was going to win that thing because it was just back and forth. I think there was 10 lead changes there. I know we were on emotional high, and then we were talking when we got back to the field house, and we're talking as coaches. We're like, man, I feel like I could go to sleep right now. I'm so spent from all the emotions that we had tonight.
Coach, over 700 yards of total offense between the two teams last night, and I talked about this with Brian Morgan. Sometimes you get into those games when you feel like you have to score every time you touch the football. Did you kind of think that going in, or did that just kind of happen during the game? You said, hey, boys, you take a look around and said, we better make the most of it every time we have our hands on this football because this is going to be one of those games tonight.
We knew we were going to have trouble with Firelands. I mean, they're a big physical football team that's really good at running the ball, and their strengths really were highlighted against our weaknesses, I believe, and then kind of vice versa with us as well. So I think that's why there was so many yards put up. I mean, I hate giving up that many yards, but I mean, Firelands had a great game plan. They executed very well, and it was tough. I mean, so it was one of those. Yeah, hey, whoever gets the ball last, hopefully it's us, and let's take advantage of it.
That was like 43 seconds to go, I think, when you guys went in with the 9-yard run there. Bell rushes for 102, passes for 207. I said jokingly to Jared, when was the last time a Black River quarterback threw for over 200 yards? Maybe I'm not joking about that. Tell us about the night that Bell had at quarterback.
Yeah, it hasn't been many of us that have thrown over 200 yards, but he's a very, very special talent. I mean, for a freshman to be able to do what he does, and then he led us on that last drive. I believe he had 6 carries on that last scoring drive. There was a couple of them that they were scrambles and whatnot, but he got the first down, got out of bounds, or we had a couple design runs there, and he just handled the ball well and showed us what he's capable of.
You know, and that's a young man that I know that Rocco and I have talked to you earlier in the year, Coach, that, you weren't sure that he was going to be your quarterback. You weren't sure that he was going to have that type of responsibility at that age, and he's really starting to blossom into that right now.
Yeah, he is. I mean, obviously we ended up starting a freshman halfway through the season last year in Hunter Varney, and then over the summer they were kind of battling back and forth, and Dom kind of showed what he could do, and we thought we could put Hunter somewhere else, and actually Hunter, he volunteered to go somewhere else, play running back and receiver for us, so it kind of make it easy on me. But Dom is a very, very special talent. I mean, I don't believe it's anything that us as coaches have done. It's just he's a very special talent. We just got to feed it and get him in the right position.
So Kyle, the loss to Columbia, you guys are trying to figure out, how to get back on track, and it doesn't make it easy with a red hot Firelands program as your next opponent. And you're thinking to yourself, well, we can't let this snowball. We got to draw a line in the sand here. Is that maybe the mentality that you go into with the Firelands week? Yeah,
I mean, we've been in a ton of tight games. I mean,
yeah,
we lost to Smithville 14-8. We lost to Columbia 14-0, and then we were up 15-0 against Keystone and lost in the second half 22-15. So we've been on the wrong end of a lot of these tight games, and it was just, I think that those tight games prepared us for one against Firelands, where our kids never dipped their head and they never gave up on each other, and it was really nice to see how the energy and the confidence that they were taking into those final drives.
Coach, do you feel like maybe that was a turning point for you? You have lost some tough games. I know the mantra with Black River, we used to tell our kids, that said, Black River is going to punch you in the mouth when you get off the bus, for crying out loud. Have you kind of gotten over the hump and saying, we can do this now? We can pull through on these tight games?
Yeah, I think we have. And I was talking with our coaches this week too. So we have 4 losses, which is not ideal, but those 4 teams that we've lost to have a combined 3 losses together. So
there's no shame in that. Yeah.
Obviously, we would like to have some of those wins, and we felt like we could have, but we just didn't have it there. And I think some of that comes down to me too. It's my first time ever calling offense, and I don't feel like I was doing a really good job of it. And I felt like us as a coaching staff, we did a better job of play calling this week. We put a little bit more detail into it and kind of figured out what was best for us. So I'm trying to learn too, and it just stinks that we're having losses along the way.
Is that something maybe, Kyle, that you can sort of compartmentalize and say, we've got 3 more games left, let's make the most of them, and by the way, we're going to take some momentum into these 3 contests and know that we're playing better than we were in the middle of September?
Oh, for sure. There was things that we showed in this Firelands games. We've been working on it in practice for 2 to 3 weeks, and it's just like it wasn't good enough in practice for us to highlight it in the game yet. So we're continually trying to add those things to put our kids in the best position possible to be successful. And they've done a great job at adjusting to it and figuring out what we're asking them to do. And then once they get that polished up in practice, we start putting it in the game plan. I feel like now we have a lot of different angles to attack people.
Coach, you come back against a Brookside team next week. You finish off with Brookside, Wellington, and Oberlin. But a Brookside team that traditionally is pretty physical as well. Do you start looking at them now? Or are you still trying to put last night's game to bed with the kids?
Well, my Saturdays are a little bit different now. My son is 9 years old, so after I get off of here with you, we're headed to Wellington for a rookie tackle game. So my focus is on how we're going to stop Wellington and rookie tackle here for the next couple hours.
You're not play calling this morning, are you, Coach? It's a whole different play card tomorrow. No.
Nope. I stick to the defensive side on Saturdays.
Okay.
So that's good, and then I try to spend time with the family, do some chores around the house, maybe split a little firewood tonight and watch that Buckeyes game. And then Sunday after church, that's when I really focus in and start looking at Brookside.
Good stuff.
Well, good stuff. Again, Kyle Clark with the Black River Pirates. Coach, thanks for taking the time. We'll let you get on to your next coaching duties right now. And good luck against the Cards coming up next week.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Good to catch up with you. Thank you. And
Yep.
That is Kyle Clark with Black River. Tom, we've talked about it before. They're always in the spot about week 7, week 8, where you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, things maybe, just as Kyle mentioned, didn't go exactly. They were on the wrong end of it a few times, but they still feel like they played pretty competitive football, and they have throughout the season. So, it's a chance to make some hay over the next 3 weeks and really kind of put themselves in that spot to say that, yeah, we're going to be somebody to contend with come week 11.
Well, and I think the schedule favors them finishing out the season. They have 2 of the front runners behind them, and actually 3, honestly, with Firelands, Keystone, and Columbia. That was their biggie yesterday. The toughest part of the schedule right there. But guaranteed that Brookside, Wellington, Oberlin will come ready for them. The Black River Wellington game, that's kind of a backyard brawl in that part of the county over there, and so they'll be ready for that one as well. But good things ahead for the Black River Pirates.
Yeah, certainly they're starting to peak at the right time, and we'll see what goes on for them. I don't envy the rookie tackle Wellington fellows this morning in terms of what's going on. If they full head of steam from Kyle Clark and company at 9 years old, you got to think the expectations are high no matter what in Pirate Country.
Yeah.
So we'll take a quick time out, and on the other side, Tommy and I will come back. We'll go through our scores again and a couple other items, and then we'll catch up with Michael Keith. He was on our Stream 3 Medina County matchup broadcast last night that saw Wadsworth take down Hudson, I believe, 35-17. We'll get Michael's thoughts on that game as well as a look around Medina County as some of those playoff pictures start to shaping up too. And you look through Medina County, there's some pretty good football being played, and it's not necessarily from the people you might expect, the Medinas and the Brunswicks of the world that are having some issues. It's everybody else that's really trying to fall in place over in Medina County. So we'll catch up with Michael. It's the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. It's on the Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel. And Tom, you find us online
at WEOL.com.
At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, this month you choose. Right now, get the Escape, Mach-E, Mustang, or Bronco Sport for only $399 a month with 0 down. Or the Bronco, Explorer, or F-150 for just $499 a month. At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, we make it that easy.
High school football in Lorain County is all about tradition, pride, and community, and that's what Stewart's Appliance is built on. For generations, Stewart's has been the family-owned appliance store you can count on for quality products and personal service. From refrigerators to washers, ovens to dishwashers, Stewart's has what you need to keep your home running. Proud to support Lorain County and proud to support high school sports. Stewart's Appliance, where community comes first.
Hi, Tim Elkhorn, Cavs radio voice. Recently, we had some trees removed. So again, singing the praises of EcoTree Services. In a few hours, EcoTree had removed the unsightly trees, cleaned the debris, and opened the area for a new fence. I can't say enough good things about the people at EcoTree. I've used them several times, always thrilled with their work. If you have trees that require pruning or need to be removed, contact EcoTree, a local business that deserves your business. They've earned mine. Go to ecotreeservices.com.
We all know for a team to win, it takes dedication, consistency, and teamwork. That's exactly what we do here at Cobos Insurance Center. We put in the work every day so that you can have the best experience possible and coverage that fits you and your needs. By partnering with companies like Ohio Mutual Insurance Group, who are committed to helping you protect your auto, home, farm, or business, we have no doubt that we can be the most valuable player on your team. Give us a call at 440-324-3732 or visit us online at cobosins.com so we can help you with all your insurance needs today.
At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, this month you choose. Right now, get the Escape, Mach-E, Mustang, or Bronco Sport for only $399 a month with 0 down, or the Bronco, Explorer, or F-150 for just $499 a month. At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, we make it that easy.
And good morning and welcome back into the WEOL Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Jared Kozar along with the coach, Tom Evans, and here to get our number 2 rolling on the wrap-up show. We'll get you started with the scores from around the area last night, and I'll start things off in the SWC. It was Olmsted Falls knocking off Avon Lake 25-21. Talked to Tom DeLuca in hour number 1. We were on hand for that one. A pretty special atmosphere over at Falls last night. Ridgeville gets the better of Berea Mid-Park with a late comeback, 42-35. Rocco Nucci, Mike Rush, and Craig Couch on hand for that one. They had great things to say about that one. And we caught up with Brian Morgan during hour number 1 to share his thoughts on that ball game. Certainly the Rangers now sitting at 6-1, doing really well. Amherst a winner over Elyria yesterday evening, 47-16. Cy Christensen, quarterback for the Amherst Comets, goes over 7,000 career yards for his career in Lorain County. We'll talk to Tom Thome coming up at the bottom of this hour. He'll share his thoughts on that contest. And Avon keeps rolling, Tommy. They blanked Midview 52-0 yesterday evening.
And over in the LC8, we had Columbia 48 over Oberlin, 48-14. We talked to Coach Don Griswold earlier from Keystone 35-0 over Wellington last night. Clearview winner over Brookside, 34-6. And we just got done talking to Coach Kyle Clark of the Black River Pirates. Topped the Firelands Falcons 40-33 in a shootout last night, and LC8 is kind of up for grabs when we'll have that Keystone Columbia game next week over in LaGrange.
Fun game, Tom. You mentioned no team in that contest had a 2-score lead at any point in that ball game. It was a back-and-forth affair. Certainly good to catch up with Kyle Clark this morning. Elsewhere, Lake Catholic shuts out Elyria Catholic 26-0. It was Lorain getting a victory over Shaker Heights, 19-14. Congratulations to the Titans. That's their first league win in that new conference. We'll catch up with James Boyes later on this hour to talk Titan football. And it was Port Clinton in a 5-overtime affair coming away victorious over Vermilion yesterday evening, 29-28. Again, 5 OTs. Tough luck losers over there are the Sailors, and just wow, what a 5 OTs.
That you're exhausted this morning, regardless of which side of that game you were on. And we're going to turn Michael Keefe loose pretty soon to talk about some Medina County, but some Medina County scores from last night. Cleveland Heights over top of the Medina Bees, 42-28. The Brunswick Blue Devils top Euclid Panthers 17-16. Buckeye stays hot with a 52-16 win over Westlake. Norton on top of Cloverleaf, 48-21. And the Wadsworth Grizzlies over top of Double Up Hudson last night, 35-17 in our Medina County matchup that Michael Keefe had last night.
Speaking of Michael Keefe, we're wasting no time here. We'll go to the Chiefly Keefely Studios and bring Michael Keefe in. And again, he is your voice of the Medina County matchup. Tom, as you mentioned, Wadsworth, red hot. They knock off Hudson last night, 35-17. Mike, you and Chad were on hand for that one.
Yeah, good morning, guys. It was, first of all, great atmosphere down there at Hudson, the high school. The stadium was packed. Big rivalry game, obviously, coming in. 6-0 Wadsworth, 5-1 Hudson. Hudson, in their first 3 league games in the Suburban League, outscored their opponents 105-3. That's how their first 3 league games went. And then last night, Wadsworth showed up, and they're unbelievable. 35-17. The reality was it was 21-3 at halftime. There were 28 total points scored in the fourth quarter as both teams just kind of went back and forth a little bit. The fourth quarter took forever, but it never felt like the game was ever in doubt for Wadsworth. They just have so many talented players, and we talk about these guys that are getting ready to go play D1 college football on both the offensive and defensive side of the football, and they're a bear. They're a bear. They're not the biggest team. They're not the most physical team, but man, they play just a very disciplined style of football, and their guys are special athletes. So a huge win last night for Wadsworth.
Michael, talk to us a little bit about the makeup of the Suburban League. I got a little frustrated because 2 weeks ago I'm looking at Highland and I'm looking at Wadsworth. I'm going, oh man, when the Highland and Wadsworth match up, and I look and they're in different divisions. And when I was doing the Medina County matchup game way back when, it was like that was like the game of the year. I couldn't wait for the boys from Hinckley to take the ride down into Wadsworth or vice versa, and just two atmospheres at both places phenomenal. And now they're not even playing, for crying out loud. How does that happen?
Well, not so fast, Tom Evans, because that changes next year. Big shakeup coming in the Suburban League, and it's a humongous shakeup as next year Highland's going to leave the American Conference of the Suburban League, move over to the National Conference, so they'll be with Wadsworth and Hudson and Nordonia. And guess who else is joining that league? The Medina Battling Bees are also joining the Suburban League in the National Conference. So next year, we will have 3 Medina teams all in the National Conference of the Suburban League. And again, there's some rumors swirling around. I know Mayfield and Kenston are joining the American side, so that is great for that side because you still have Aurora over there. There's also rumors swirling that Nordonia might be moving that way and changing sides. So it's going to be a major shakeup in the Suburban League. But Tom, whether it is next year and every year thereafter, we will always be able to see Highland and Wadsworth. But there is something, Chad and I were talking about this last night. We've got to figure out a way to see these two teams play this year, because with all the star power for both teams that are seniors this year, the big name players, seniors, not to say there's not great talent behind them, because there always is at these two programs, but keep an eye on these playoff seedings, because there's a really solid chance that you might see Wadsworth and Highland in the postseason. And I can only hope and pray that we get to see that matchup.
Yeah, because that was step 2 of what I was looking at there. I'm saying, obviously you throw Avon into the mix, and Jared has talked about, Ron Janssen said it multiple times, and I believe him that to be true, that had Highland beaten Avon last year in what was a tremendous football game, Highland would have gone on to be the state champs last year. Yeah. They're that good. As a matter of fact, they probably brought more players back this year on their team, returned more than what the Avon Eagles did. And you start looking at that and you say, and you hate to get way ahead of yourself, but we can. In the media, we can. The coaches can't. They're still looking at week by week. You start looking at the Avons. You start looking at Highland and Wadsworth, and those three as being just maybe a cut above. And then I always forget about, who's coming out of that, Northwest Ohio, because for years it was Toledo Central Catholic. Then they dropped down to D2, and Anthony Wayne's out that way. We've been out to Anthony Wayne, and the nice football program out there. So, yeah, you never know what's going to come out of that part of the state as well.
Yeah, listen, it's been a funny thing over the years where it feels like Avon has consistently been the roadblock over the past several years for Highland. Highland has been the roadblock for Anthony Wayne. They seem to match up every year, and Highland seems to get Anthony Wayne every year. Again, just kind of hoping, in my head, I'm hoping that the computer points work out so that maybe Avon grabs the top seed in that region and you get Highland 2 and Wadsworth 3, or Wadsworth 2 and Highland 3, one of those things, so that we get a shot to see that matchup. Because I'm with you, Tom. And Jared, you were out there in Elyria last year for the worst weather of all time that I was down on the sideline for. And I tell everybody, had that game gone one more quarter, Highland would have won that game. Avon got out to a really fast start. There was a turnover early, and Avon got out to the fast start, and that's really what propelled them to the win. But Highland came back and pretty much outperformed Avon the rest of the way in that game. So it's a special bunch in Highland. Now, again, it takes everything to take down a defending state champ in Avon. But certainly Highland and who knows, maybe even Wadsworth have a shot at doing it this year.
And it's funny you mentioned that, Mike, because I think I remember interacting with a couple of Avon fans on the way out of Elyria that evening, and they echoed those sentiments. And it sounds cliche, but said, these guys didn't lose; they ran out of time, and that's kind of what happened. And does that game go any longer? Who knows? Certainly take nothing away from the Avon Eagles and their accomplishment, but it is a collision course. Let's face it, and I think it's the one that I think most people in our area, if you look at it, want. But I think it's really interesting that Wadsworth's a very serious contender now for that. Hey, don't forget about us. Maybe last year they knocked on the door, and this year it's no, we're right there.
Listen, these dudes that play for Wadsworth, they're running backs. That this combination of Cooper Gray and Gavin Madigan, very thunder and lightning down there. They are unbelievable. They have a sophomore quarterback that makes you feel like, even if they don't get over the hump this year, and even though they're going to lose a lot of Gray and Madigan and Gavin Lux and some of their guys on defense as seniors, this sophomore quarterback, guys, I think he's the next big name quarterback. He is very special. There's a lot of positives there for Highland. And again, they should, they've got another tough test coming up this week, but a lot of confidence about Wadsworth. A lot of confidence that Wadsworth can get to 10-0 on the season. Again, the other big story in Medina this week, guys, and it created quite a ripple. Barberton just canceled the game against Highland this week and create a lot of unhappy situations down there in the Highland area. But I heard they had a really nice party. It was their homecoming that basically just got canceled because Barberton didn't want to play it. So they lost the game. But again, Highland has a lot of confidence. They can finish 9-0, 9-0. Should have been 10-0, but 9-0 now. So 2 Medina County teams and probably actually a third over in Buckeye. We're probably looking at 3 10-0 seasons out of Medina, which is awesome.
And for our listeners that, I saw some stuff online where people were saying, that's going to hurt Highland's playoff chances. It doesn't, because they average. So the fact that they get a bye week thrown in there does not hurt them any whatsoever in the playoff run by not having that 10th game. So because the state's going to average, and because for that very reason, Cindy Nations and some of those schools that had a tough time getting 10 games in the past, they didn't want to penalize them for not playing a week when they couldn't find anybody to play them, for crying out loud. But they did make the most of it. And they certainly got some headlines this week with the Highland AD calling for Barberton to be moved out of the league. So that we went from bad to worse down there in the Suburban in this week.
Yeah, and listen, John Bailey, good guy we've known for a long time in Lorain County and now down at Highland. Take that all for what it's worth. He's also showing face to his people who just had to have their homecoming canceled and their football game canceled and their Hall of Fame celebration canceled. And I think he's taken a little bit of a stand there for just kind of defending his program. I don't know that Barberton's going to get kicked out of the Suburban League, but it wasn't a great situation. Barberton, talked about injuries, but they had 45 kids on the sideline last week. So
can you cover that? Can you cover that league meeting this week, Michael? Can you take some time off of work and stop in and can cover the Suburban League meeting? I think it's going to be a little interesting. There might be a little tension in the air in that room this week.
I'll put on my battle gear. I'll put on a football helmet. I'll go in there and see what happens.
Rocco will gladly go live with you for that one, Mike. So that'd be great if you could come up with what we need. Obviously, the acolytes go to Highland, Wadsworth when we talk about what's going on in Medina County football right now. Don't sleep on the Buckeye Bucks. They just keep rolling 52-16 over Westlake. Obviously, Craig Dennison knows exactly what it takes to come away with big victories. Former guy over at Wadsworth, so he gets kind of the makeup of Medina County. Is that a team that maybe is a little bit under the radar?
Well, yes, I think they can be, and again, we can talk about all of Medina County if you want, because I think we're on pace for 6 of the 7 teams to be in the postseason, potentially even 7, depending on how the season ends. But when you go to Buckeye, the interesting thing about Buckeye has been, especially in the recent past, they are always one of the top teams in their region, but they do not play the most difficult strength of schedule. And once again this year, that Cleveland West conference is not one of the best conferences. You've got Bay that can put up a little bit of a fight. Again, week 9, that Rocky River game is going to be for the conference like it was last year. And Rocky River looks like an improved team this year, but not a lot of other massive competition in that conference. So we've seen Buckeye kind of run through their schedule before and then run into a team like they did last year in Padua. And Padua was just a little bit more battle tested and ready to go. I think Buckeye had a little bit of a harder strength of schedule this year. They padded the non-conference schedule with some tougher games. They came back and got a big revenge win against Amherst. They lost that game last year. They got a win this year. And then the Tiffin Columbia, and that's a team that's always given Buckeye trouble, is Tiffin Columbia, and they came out and beat them pretty handily this year. So I think Buckeye tried to take a couple steps this year to get themselves a little more battle tested before the postseason, and I think that's going to help them in the postseason. They're a really special team. A new quarterback, new running back situation, but defensively they've been good. Offensively, they've been special. And I do think Greg Dennison's team can make a run kind of that rivals the one they made a couple of years ago when they went pretty deep into the playoffs. They beat Norton and surprised some people. So I think they're poised to make a run like that.
Well, they haven't been in a stable conference since the Inland, and that was before you were born, Michael. Quite honestly, they were in the Mohican Area Conference, which was another one of those oddball conferences. They're kind of the land of misfit toys because the size that they are, they're not big enough to be with the Highlands and the Medina and Medina high schools, but they're also a little bit too big for that LC8 side of it. So they really, it's tough for them size wise to find a league to fit in. And now they land in this is the oddest league I've ever seen for the most part. It got a little bit more normal when they got Larry Catholic out of it, but Rocky River Bay, the Parma schools, it's just kind of awkward.
Yeah, I actually thought when they were shaking up the Suburban League, I thought, man, Buckeye would be a really good fit on the American side of the Suburban League with the Auroras and the Reveres and the Talmadges. I think they would look pretty good in that league, but I don't know if they ever got into that discussion or not. So, they are where they're at. And listen, you can only ask them to take care of business, right? Like that's all you can do if you're Greg Dennison. You can only ask them to win the games in front of them. You can't control all of this other stuff. And you got to keep your kids' head in it. And you have to realize that competition's only going to get harder as soon as you hit the postseason. And you're only going to face teams that have faced harder schedules and are more playoff and battle ready and all that stuff. And you've got to step up to the task. And I think these kids have learned that over the years. And I think Greg Dennison certainly knows that.
Well, Mike, thanks for joining us. And this is Michael Keith. He's the voice of the Medina County matchup. He and Chad Meyer most weeks will bring you all things Medina County on a Friday evening. Great to catch up with you, and looking forward to seeing how the last 3 weeks of this plays out. Don't worry, your requests for your Week 9 matchup have not fallen on deaf ears. We're just figuring out some logistics in terms of how we're going to do that. But you prefaced that you're looking for a conference title matchup in Week 9. We hope we can give it to you.
Hey, I hope so too. Again, next week, Brunswick and Medina. So good rivalry game coming.
Certainly.
Brunswick at Medina. Huge game for Medina's playoff chances. Brunswick too. So it's going to be a good one, even though they're two teams that are struggling through the year. Should be a really good matchup there at Ken Duke Stadium in Medina. We look forward to it.
We look forward to catching up with you on that one, and definitely check Michael Keith and Chad Meyer out on Stream 3 next week for the Medina County matchup. So long, Michael. We'll catch you up next week.
See you guys. Thank you.
Take care, Mike.
And, as Mike mentioned, Tom, 7 Medina County teams and all in the playoff hunt. That's pretty impressive when you think about that. That's going to be a nice finish to the season. And again, it starts really next week with Medina and Brunswick. Whoever loses that one probably finds themselves, scratching and clawing other ways to get in.
They're going to be on the outside looking in for sure.
But it's just they're still in the hunt as of Week 8. Speaking of in the hunt, a guy that's been trying to track us down and us connect with him, it's Mike Rice. So we're going to go to him right now and welcome the head coach of the Columbia Raiders to the stage. Mike, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. Only team in Lorain County to see their mark go to 7-0 as of last night. And, this one, you go over and take care of business on the road in Oberlin, a different environment. You guys get off to a little bit of a later start over at playing at Oberlin College. So I thought it's unique that we're chasing your score at the end. And you guys come out on the left-hand side of the margin, 48-14 victors over Oberlin. But you moved to 7-0, and you're carrying the torch for the county in terms of undefeated ball clubs.
Well, it's good to go out and just go 1-0 this week, and our kids took care of business last night. We were able to get a lot of young guys some playing time last night, which was nice. Some guys' experience under the lights, and it was actually a home game. It was our homecoming game. And so it was a fun atmosphere. Our school does such a great job with homecoming, and our kids had a lot of fun. So it was a good night.
Mike, you didn't have the fire chief out there setting off fireworks again. I always worry about him when he gets over on the other side of the field with the fireworks display over there.
I always worry about him too.
I talked to him before.
No, not last night. Not last night.
Okay, good. Mike, a much improved Oberlin team. A team that's got a couple wins this year, and I think maybe in years gone by that you take some time during the week, taking a look at your roster and saying, we got to get some kids in some key spots to find out what they can do for us. But maybe a little bit more attention to detail this year when you take on the Oberlin Phoenix.
Absolutely, I love what they're doing over there. Their kids play hard, and they're much improved. They've got some athletes that can make some plays, and they did last night. And we had to be prepared. Number 5 especially is he's a big kid, very athletic, and their quarterback number 10 was he's really good as well. We wish them nothing but the best moving forward.
Boy, you talk about that going the right direction. Kenny Washington, hats off to him in terms of what he's done, getting those guys to believe. And it was never going to be easy. It still isn't easy, but just for them to have success in the way they've enjoyed it this year. He's not satisfied with just coming away with a couple of wins. He's looking to make that happen with a close to the season. So hats off to him, and great to mention that, Mike. That you like what's going on over there.
Absolutely,
Mike. As you head down the stretch, how do you keep the kids from peaking at the computer rankings and that type of thing this week? You guys are undefeated. There's no hiding that. You want to embrace it. You want to, but on the same hand, you don't want to kind of peak. And how do you steer clear of some of that?
It's hard. To be honest, if I'm honest, I try not to ever look at that stuff, and so we don't really talk about any of that stuff. So I think just you only get so much time with these guys, and we try and respect their time and be efficient with our time. And I think just staying focused on what we can control and what the task at hand is, really kind of it eliminates that whole rabbit hole that you can get going down by looking too deep into that and getting ahead of yourself and ourselves. I think our kids respond to that, and our kids, I think everybody naturally kind of does look at that and want to know where we're projected or things like that. But it's not something we talk about as a group, and it's not something we focus on. And we're focused on improving ourselves, getting better every day, finding the weaknesses we think we have, and pointing those things out, having some constructive criticism, and then going to work on them all week.
Mike, we're at that time of the season, and I know small school football that when sometimes when somebody gets hurt, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. So when your quarterback goes out, you might be taking your best receiver and now turn him into a quarterback, or vice versa somewhere along the line. Talk to us about those adjustments and how they're working out for the Raiders.
Well, it's a testament to our kids and the kids that we have here. You take a kid like Wesley Sanders, who is now the full-time quarterback. He's the guy, and he has to one of the things that we had to talk to him about, because he was a starting inside linebacker, and he was focused on that, and he loves being the starting inside linebacker. And one of the things he now has to get used to is not only just playing on the other side of the ball, but changing his mentality. Linebacker is an aggressive, high-intensity position, where quarterback, especially the way we want to play quarterback, we have to stay calm. We have to make decisions. So we have to be a steady presence out there. So he almost has to put two different hats or masks on in a matter of minutes. So it's a testament to him and what he's doing and how he's performing, and a lot of our kids, because it is small school football, and you're exactly right. We got to put the best guys out on the field, and so sometimes that means we're changing positions, and we're learning multiple positions from the very beginning in preparation for that.
Mike, last year, obviously you've been with the program for a number of years, very familiar with it. It was a great transition for you, but it maybe took till about week 7-ish to say this is Mike Rice's football team here at Columbia. Do you think maybe this year it's the guys' team, it's their team, the guys in your roster along with you this year, where you've made that transition to it was you last year, now it's you and them together, and they can take ownership of that too?
I hope so. I hope that every team, I hope that last year's team felt like it was their team too. I've said it before, no one person, I felt that way in taking over. No one person, is bigger than the program. And we try and respect that here, and keeping in the traditions, keeping in things that are Columbia need to stay Columbia, not Mike Rice Columbia or anyone else, anyone in particular. So I hope all our guys have a piece of ownership in this every single year and from the very beginning. So I hope, and I believe they do.
Mike, we've been ducking the elephant in the room, but there's no way around it.
You said it.
there's no way around it. Next week's matchup, the Wildcats and the Raiders. It seems like this is an annual event where the league title is on the line when Columbia takes on Keystone. Have you started to look forward to it yet? Have you started to break that down? And where are you at on that?
Yeah, absolutely. We just dismissed the guys, and before they left, we talked about it. They've put themselves in a position to go out and win a very important game and put themselves in the driver's seat. Because you got two undefeated teams here and in the conference, and so we got to go out and execute. And we gotta take care of the football. Unlike last year, we've got to play great defense like we've been doing all year, but we know, they've got a running back and some other players that are talented, and we're gonna have to be our best. And I talked a little bit earlier about, finding some of our weaknesses and working on those, and those are things we have to continue to clean up. And so I think our guys are focused. I think our guys are hungry, and I'm excited to go out and compete against another great football team that's coached well and has great players on it.
Well, certainly we are looking forward to being on hand for that one, Coach. Good luck in that affair, and looking forward to seeing you guys next week in what promises to be a tremendous high school football environment in Lorain County. And like Tom mentioned, once again, it just seems like you're in a conference title game in week 8, and that might not always be conventional, but it makes for a good story and a good time.
Well, I appreciate it, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys.
Pleasure will be all ours. Thanks for
Mike.
the time this morning, Mike, and good to catch up with Mike Rice on a Saturday morning. And again, Tom, we talked about that week 8. It gets no bigger than that in terms of the Lorain County League. We're looking forward to it.
No, that conference championships rolled through that game for a number of years now. But that's what they prepare for. I mean, that's what they want. That's the position they want to be in. And both coaches will embrace that and get their teams to embrace that. So it'll be a knockdown drag out this week.
Well, speaking of a guy that knows a little bit about those battles, Tom Thome, he's on the other side of the break. Coach, we're going to be with you in less than 1 minute. Thanks for the patience. Hang with us, and we'll see you in just about 45 seconds.
At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford this month, you choose. Right now, get the Escape, Mach-E, Mustang, or Bronco Sport for only $399 a month with 0 down, or the Bronco, Explorer, or F-150 for just $499 a month. At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, we make it that easy.
Ohio Mutual Insurance Group has been a leader in the farm insurance industry since 1901. With more than 100 years of experience, Ohio Mutual's farm products have evolved to meet the needs of 21st century farm owners. At Cobos Insurance Agency, we can help you protect what matters most. Whether you own a small farm with 5 acres or a large operation with thousands of acres, we can provide the coverage you need. Give us a call at 324-3732. We would welcome the opportunity to meet your farm insurance needs. Ohio Mutual, modern insurance for modern farmers.
Welcome back to the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Jared Kozar along with Tom Evans, and joining us now on the program is the head coach of the victorious Amherst Comets, Tom Thome. His team comes away with a thumping of Elyria last night, 47-16. That is part of the story, but another element to that story, Cy Christensen, Amherst Comet quarterback, goes over 7,000 career passing yards. No small feat in and of itself. Coach, thanks for joining us this morning. Your thoughts first on the victory over Elyria, and then we'll get to Cy in a little bit.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. No, it's always good to get a win in the Southwest Conference. It was their homecoming. They were fired up. They came out playing really hard. So a lot of credit to them. But it's just good to get a win in the Southwest any way you can.
Coach, Elyria jumped on top last night. You guys played such an emotional game the week before against Olmsted Falls. It was your homecoming. Did you have a little homecoming hangover last week going into that Elyria game, or did they just come out fired up for their own homecoming?
No, we had some miscues. We fumbled on the first drive that, it was questionable if our player was down or not, but he was ruled that he fumbled, and they picked it up and scooped and scored. And then they did a good job making a really nice drive. Kid had a really nice high point in the end zone for a touchdown. So they did a really good job. They were really fired up. I don't think we had a hangover or anything. We just had some miscues.
Coach, I'm going to let Jared circle back around to Cy Christensen, but what I want to talk about, I've been talking about defense all morning, and you're one of those teams that, because of your secondary makeup and the athletes you have, you don't have to double team other team's best receiver. You can kind of put those guys out on an island and know that any one of those guys, Duziak, Leibacher, Passarella, they can all make plays. Do you craft that defense around forcing people into that secondary?
Yeah, we're fortunate right now. We two platoon. David obviously plays both ways, but both corners, Jack Coleman and Cole Lugar, they don't play any offense. Cole has some, plays here and there. And Michael, we use him at running back when we need to. So those guys really get to just focus on, coverage and knowing what teams' routes combos are. I think our secondary has gotten a lot better over the last 3 to 4 weeks, especially Coleman and Lugar.
Well, 4 interceptions last night. Talk about that. They were going after the ball last night.
Well, Mason Morales at Sam linebacker, he had 2 of them. The second one was actually the quarterback was getting pressured really well, and Mason was doing a good job and right place, right time. But Tyler's pick 6 for about 70 yards and Mason's pick 6 for 40. Both of those were they dropped into coverage really well. They read the patterns and they did a good job to finish in the play.
Coach, we talked about it earlier. It was on social media last night. Certainly a nice write-up about it. Cy Christensen goes over that 7,000 career passing yard mark. We got real acquainted with him over his career, but I got to tell you, we had you against Avon Lake a couple weeks back. The game outcome did not necessarily go the way you wanted, but the resolve of that young man, after being down fairly large in that first half, just came back and did all the things you would expect a leader would do, and somebody with those kind of numbers behind them. You would make the right throw, step up in the pocket, be patient, and just exemplify what somebody that believes in themselves and the system can do.
Well, there was a lot of knock on Cy if he could, play in this league, in our system. Cy had 3 rushing touchdowns last night. He had 3 coming into this year. I think he's at 8 rushing touchdowns. He's a complete quarterback. I know everyone wants to always talk about the passing out of him, and he was tremendous last night. He was extremely efficient. The pick wasn't on him, but I mean, he just puts the ball where not a lot of high school kids can put it, and we've got some receivers that do a great job at catching it. But no, I mean, he's just a complete quarterback. I love him. He is a tremendous leader. He doesn't get down. When we had the interception yesterday, he goes to the receiver and he's like, "You're good. I'm going to come back to you." He spreads the ball around a lot. I was talking to his dad, Jason. He's never had a 1,000-yard receiver in his career. It's because he gets it to everyone. Right now we've got 3 guys I think over 350, and then just some other pieces as well. So he reads the field. He takes what the coverage is going to give him, and he does a tremendous job. He's about 88 yards shy from potentially being the second leading thrower in Lorain County history.
Yeah, coming close on that number. One of the things that I guess I would value in terms of somebody that's followed your program is and just knowing the pressures that are on a high school athlete. Talk about the adjustment for a guy like Cy to say, you got to go into Amherst and replace somebody that, quite frankly, was one of the better athletes to ever come through that school system. We just put up numbers and was asked to do things under, intense pressure situations in years past. Speaking of Cole, that, now it's your team and you've got to do it. And the expectations are as high as they've ever been.
Well, first of all, Cole's about to make his first collegiate start today at Walsh against Findlay. So I hope he does well. But for Cy, it was a little easier. With his experience, but his experience with our playmakers. He's played a lot of AAU basketball with David and Peyton, even Patrick Fellenstein as well. So he knew our team, so he fit in really well. And, you know, we don't run the ball with Cy like we did with Cole, but we also throw the ball different than what we did with Cole. So we've moved the offense to Cy's strengths, to the strengths of our playmakers, and he's been able to do and evolve. His 3 touchdowns on the ground yesterday were all designed quarterback runs that he had to make the cut, that he had to get in the end zone. And the 2 passes that he threw for touchdowns were in very tight coverage that were really impressive.
Tom, I want to get back to, you know, Cy's a guy that keeps a lot of plays alive with his legs. And when you come in with a new set of receivers, that can be this isn't all 3-step, 5-step with timing routes. He keeps so many plays alive with his legs, and your receivers do an incredible job of finding open spots when he does that thing. How much time did that take to them to transition into that? Because that can be a tough thing to do sometimes.
I think what makes Cy different than a lot of high school quarterbacks is he always has his eyes downfield. He's always, you know, he doesn't panic. You know, maybe there's sometimes I wish he would take off, because I would think about Cole, and if Cole could take off, he took off. But Cy just makes those plays string out. We do a lot more scramble drills than we've had in years past, where we work with our receivers, and if this is the play, then we break it off here. We flow with Cy. So, I mean, a lot of that's just him and his natural ability.
Coach, pretty busy going on behind you. If you want to, you know, take a moment to show our folks where you're at, what environment you're in, just walk us through what's going on over there behind you.
Well, right now, Larry has got it's 4th and goal. They're JV. So, are we gonna get him out? We didn't like that, you guys. No, score's 16-6. So, courtesy of Spitzer Auto World. All right, I have to throw that in, right?
Well,
good stuff, Coach. Good stuff,
and good to catch up with you. Best of luck. A tall order against the Avon Eagles next week. They have to come to your place to do it. So, you know, hopefully you can come up with something there. You're really going to find out a lot about your ball club.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you for having me on, and have a good weekend.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks for joining us. We appreciate the time. And, our official correspondence segment with Coach Thome is
live score.
He takes us right through there. He's coming for somebody's job, I think, with that sort of analysis. We're going to transition right now to the victorious coach of the Lorain High Titans. That's James Boyes. He's going to join us right now. Coach, thanks for the patience. We know you're on the road this morning, so we definitely appreciate it, but we would be remiss if we didn't get some time with you coming up with the league win last night over Shaker.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. That was a big one. I guess after that win, we can kind of say we're official members now.
Yeah, you come out with a 19-14 victory, and that's the christening for you guys in your new conference. And before we get into maybe some breakdown of the game, you mentioned now you're officially members, basically with that W. What's it been like as far as the transition away from the Lake Erie League no longer, and now you're in a new league, and there's some tough customers that you run into over in that GCC.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a great conference, probably one of the better in Northeast Ohio, arguably, and potentially possibly the state. But, I think what our kids have realized, every week is that, what we're doing is sound, and we feel very comfortable with what we're doing offensively and defensively, and from a philosophy standpoint within the program. What we really come to know is those little mistakes that maybe you could get away with. Sometimes, playing some other opponents. Once you're in this conference and playing league play, you can't really get away with those little mistakes. And it took us a little while to kind of clean up and break some younger players in and get some new playmakers going. But I think that the kids have done a good job, and it's hard after a few losses to, come to work every day and still practice with some emotion and some enthusiasm and some effort. But credit to our kids that, they've been battling through it. And I think that the hard work paid off a little bit yesterday, and we're realizing we just can't make those little mistakes that we may have gotten away with a little bit last year, and we're cleaning those things up.
Coach, there's a little history with Lorain and Shaker too. I remember years ago going over on Saturday afternoon before they had allowed night games over at Shaker Heights. We traditionally do a Saturday afternoon game, and I happened to be in the gym when Lorraine and Shaker played volleyball in a pretty intense battle that ended at about 11 o'clock at night. It seems to be a pretty intense rivalry between Lorraine and Shaker. Tell us about the atmosphere last night over at Shaker Heights.
Yeah, their stadium's pretty unique. It's pretty cool how the stands, the home stands, kind of build right off of the school, and they had a pretty packed crowd, and we knew we were going to get ourselves into a dogfight watching them on film. They're a physical team, and they've got a quarterback that can really extend plays, and he's got a big arm, and he can find receivers downfield, especially as he extends plays and stuff like that. But we also felt like we came up with a pretty good game plan. Coach Goodwin, Coach Lopez, Coach Kitchen, those guys came up with a great defensive game plan, and our defense executed really well. Going into halftime, it was a 14-7 game, and our touchdown was a defensive pick six. And they scored one play on a trick play. They scored their second touchdown on a trick play against it's a backup quarterback. We got our backup corner. Excuse me. We got a lot of guys going two ways, and somebody needed a break, and we tried sneaking somebody out for one rep, and they found the backup. You know what I mean? So you take away that play, and then the defense coming out and really just getting that shutout in the second half, and then finishing things off with a 2-minute drive at the end of the game to keep them from scoring and sealing the victory. Couldn't be any more prouder of the kids. Excited about the staff. I think they feel really good about that game plan they came up with and the kids' execution. And it was a complete team win yesterday. It was really fun to be a part of.
Coach, do you think that kind of gives you some momentum? I know you head into Menor and Strong, so I think Medina to finish off the year. Certainly, there's no gimmies on any part of that. But do you think that the kids found something out last night about themselves and the team that you can carry through these last 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think definitely the kids, I think there's a sense of relief, a sense of like, hey, we can do this. We can compete. Now, we were talking about Menor and Strongsville back to back. You're talking about some of the best teams in Northeast Ohio. So that's going to be difficult. That's going to be a challenge. But ultimately, if we could take care of the football like we did yesterday offensively and get some turnovers on the defensive side of the ball, and we've been stressing that offensively. We had a 3-game span where we had 16 turnovers, giving up 4 defensive touchdowns. You can't really win games playing football like that. And I thought that yesterday, we really controlled the game from an offensive standpoint. Did a great job on the ground, got a lot of people involved in the run game, led by TJ Allen. He's a monster back there, and he ran physical and tough, and then he had to go play field outside backer for us. But TJ did a good job of controlling the ground game for us. We were able to get some carries to Day Jones. Tyree Morales had a carry. We got BJ Serrano involved in there. David Whitaker, our quarterback, did a good job in the run game. Zion Moore. So we were able to get those guys going. And then David really did a good job of running the offense and getting the ball spread around to a lot of those, same kids, and Adamari Neal in there. And just getting a lot of guys touching the ball, kind of controlling the clock and the time of possession in terms of keeping some drives going, and then the defense, getting stops. It was very complimentary, really, for the first time. We really played complimentary football this year.
Coach, how hard is it to be in a situation where I think if people like Tom and I and others that read the updates and they follow along, you guys are getting closer and closer each week. But you mentioned the turnovers and the execution. There's still some frustration, but for somebody that had a ton of success with that Titan program last year to say, we got to keep grinding, we got to keep getting better and closer each week. How has that process been for you and your staff?
Yeah, I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier. We believe in what we're doing. We just understand that, we have to cross our T's, dot our I's in terms of our execution and making sure that everything we're doing, we're competing in practice and getting better at those things. And, it was really stressed for the last few weeks that we have to play a complete 48 minutes. We've been able to be in some really tight ball games at halftime and even late into the third quarter. And it always seems like there's just, one play that really just swings the momentum. Against Euclid, we were in a situation where we were down 8 and there's about 2:35 left in the third quarter. And we dialed up a specific play action game plan play for those guys, and we had our kid wide open. And unfortunately, we sailed him, and instead of sailing him deep, we sailed him far left. And when, arguably the best athlete in the state of Ohio gets that interception, takes it back, 85 yards, and you go from a potential opportunity to tie the game with a couple minutes left in the third quarter, now being down 16, things kind of unraveled for us there. And we kind of we're in that same situation against Cleveland Heights the following week.
Right.
We're in a situation where we actually score to go down a touchdown, but it gets called back on a penalty. The very next play, we sail a snap over our head. The play after that, it's a fumble. They score, take us 75. So instead of getting a situation where we can maybe cut it to 7, we're down 21. And again, that was with like a minute and a half left in the third quarter. So, and unfortunately, in the fourth quarter, we haven't been good. And the wheels have kind of been falling off. And to be able to play that complete 48 minutes yesterday, I think that was like a relief for our kids, and just, validation that the hard work's paid off a little bit, at least for one night, and that, we could continue to progress. And I think that, it's always easier to get your kids up and practicing after a win, right? So I anticipate that we could have a great week of practice and do everything we can to give Menor as much of a battle as we can, or excuse me, Strongsville. Sorry.
And with that win, as you mentioned, some tough customers still to come on the schedule. Is there a goal maybe that takes shape from last night's victory and then apply that to the next 3 games?
Yeah, I don't know that there's necessarily a goal. We talk about every day just being 1-0 today, right? We got to be 1-0 today. So before we could even worry about Friday night, we've got to make sure that we take care of Monday, and then we take care of Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then Thursday. And if we could stack those days in practice and come out and practice and be assignment sound and apply our techniques and have some emotion and have effort in practice, then we feel that if we execute and we come out with more emotion and more effort than our opponents, then we've got a chance to win any game. And Strongsville's a very good team. They're loaded with a lot of Division I talent on their defensive side. On the offensive side, they do a great job schematically to find angles in their run game, and it's all about formation for angles with those guys, and they're going to run the ball based off of how you align to them. So ultimately, we got to come out, we got to play sound football, we got to play fast, we got to play physical, and we've got some explosive playmakers. So, we got a couple of guys that are lightning in a bottle. So if we can hit some explosive plays and maybe get Strongsville on their heels a little bit, there's no doubt we could give them a challenge. But again, we got to make sure we do that for 48 minutes.
Well, Coach, thanks for putting Lorain on the map in that GCC. Certainly one that you and the guys shouldn't allow yourself to forget for a while. So enjoy that. And as you mentioned, you're back to work on Monday, and hopefully that starts to take care of itself. And good luck to you and the Titans as far as the rest of the way out.
No doubt. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. It feels good
Thanks,
to get
Coach.
that first GCC win.
You got it. And congratulations. And the pleasure's all ours. Thanks, James. And again, tall order as far as who is coming and knocking in that conference. Yeah. And it's always been there. Even when Elyria was in that league, you thought the same thing. Boy, you look at that conference banner, who can you beat? Yeah. It's really difficult. Yeah. And, but hey, I think they're in a good spot right now in terms of, who they're going to match up with week in and week out. And, maybe the drive's a little bit different certain weeks, but certainly I think that there's good things to come. We're going to take our final break, and I kept this one a surprise all morning long for you, Tommy. So we will be joined by a very special guest in about 90 seconds here on the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show, streaming live on the Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel and Tom Online.
At WEOL.com.
At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, this month you choose. Right now, get the Escape, Mach-E, Mustang, or Bronco Sport for only $399 a month with 0 down. Or the Bronco, Explorer, or F-150 for just $499 a month. At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, we make it that easy.
High school football in Lorain County is all about tradition, pride, and community, and that's what Stewart's Appliance is built on. For generations, Stewart's has been the family-owned appliance store you can count on for quality products and personal service. From refrigerators to washers, ovens to dishwashers, Stewart's has what you need to keep your home running. Proud to support Lorain County and proud to support high school sports. Stewart's Appliance, where community comes first. In the year 1901, New York became the first state to require automobile license plates. The first Nobel Peace Prize ceremony was held in Sweden, and Ohio Mutual Insurance Group was founded. At the Cobos Insurance Agency, we're proud to represent Ohio Mutual, a company with more than a century of experience. We can help you select the best coverage to help protect your auto, home, farm, or business. Call us at 324-3732. We'd love to evaluate your insurance needs and recommend the best coverage from the best companies, like Ohio Mutual. Since 1901, keeping the promises that secure dreams.
Hey, good Saturday morning, and welcome back to the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. I want to thank our sponsors, the Nick Abraham Elyria Auto Mall, also Cobos Insurance Center. You just heard their spot. They're back on with us, and thanks to Bob and Celeste over there at Cobos Insurance Center for getting everything set up with Rocco and coming through with what we needed to get them on. Great things to come out of them. Of course, Stewart's TV and Appliance in Elyria, always a great sponsor here with WEOL, and EcoTree Services as well. Haven't had a whole lot of storms lately. That's a good thing. Stormy weather will no doubt return, and when it does, you can call upon the folks at EcoTree for all your tree needs. And now bringing somebody into the main stage is going to be, he's in Norman, Oklahoma. Maybe not quite Norman yet, but somewhere along those lines. And that's Rob Polinsky on the road with the Kent State Flash this morning. And Rob, Tom and I thought it fitting to have you on as we are broadcasting live from the Rob Polinsky Memorial Studios here at the Chronicle Telegram.
Memorial Studios? That sounds like I'm already dead. Don't you become Memorial after,
I don't want to put the cart before the horse.
I'm not dead yet.
We'll call it the Emeritus Studios.
There you go. There you go.
Right, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, how we doing, guys? Good morning.
Yep. Good morning to you as well. What's the weather like over there in Oklahoma?
Believe it or not, it was warmer than Ohio. It was 90 when we got off the plane yesterday, and I think they're calling for a high of 87 today. We are actually staying in Oklahoma City. Tom, you'll remember when we were here in 2022, it's the same hotel.
Great
so we're
venue.
about 45 minutes outside of Norman in downtown OKC.
And with that would go along with the fine dining experience that Oklahoma City has to offer. And Tom and I were talking about that last night, that I'm sure you found somewhere to grab a bite.
We did. Did either one of you ever watch True South, the TV show on that ESPN does when they pick cities throughout the South with John Edge and Wyatt Thompson, and they go around and they eat and they show you the town? Well, they did one on OKC a couple weeks ago, and they went to the Cattleman's Cafe. So that's where we went, and the cattle had no chance against us. So, yeah, we had a great steak here in OKC.
Oh, you're starting to take notes now. I like that, Rob. So you knew where to go. But, so, yeah,
That's called homework.
Yeah, you excel at that. So obviously, the Flashes go on the road. They're huge underdogs today. I believe it's somewhere around 45 points. Make no mistake about it. This game is something where you learn a little bit about your team. But a new quarterback this week for the Sooners as they come off of their quarterback. Had a hand or wrist surgery, I believe. I don't remember. That's going to take him out for a couple of weeks. So you do get that added advantage.
That you do. Now, there's several problems. Obviously, their backup is still really, really good. But with John Mateer out, there's no doubt that helps Kent State's defense. But also, Oklahoma had a bye week to get ready. So they've had 2 weeks to prepare with their backup quarterback. So they'll be ready. The real problem when you look at Oklahoma is their defense. And remember that 2 of their 4 opponents were Auburn and Michigan. So they've already played quality competition. In the Auburn game, they sacked the Auburn quarterback 10 times, and that's again, obviously that's an SEC opponent with an SEC offensive line, and Oklahoma's defense sacked him 10 times. So Kent State's offense.
Well, that's what I was going to get to, Rob. Coach Carney, they've been able to put some offense up a little bit more high power than maybe in years past. But Coach Venables at Oklahoma State, he is defense through and through, and they have been incredible defensively. Tell us a little bit about the Kent State offense. It's different than what you and I saw the last couple of years. A little bit more wide open. Drew DeShields seems to be doing a nice job of running that offense for him.
He is, but that's another problem that, let me put it to you this way. It's a game time decision, guys, so you didn't officially hear it from me, but Drew is out for today. So he pulled a hamstring, and he'll be out. They're hoping, to have him back, for next week with UMass. But it looks like, from what we're hearing, that Devin Cargman, and Tom, I know you'll remember, Devin, who's been with the program for several years, will probably get his first start, his first action since he got hurt last year at Penn State. He has not seen the field since then. After Devin, just like they did a couple weeks ago, I'd expect to see Avon's own Nolan Good come into the game at some point today. So today's about survival, trying to keep as many guys healthy as you can as they really focus in next week when UMass comes to Kent State and they get back into the MAC. They're just trying to kind of get through this one, guys, but they've got some injuries, including their starting quarterback.
Rob, closer to home, at least for us, going through some of the area scores here last night. I don't know what your familiarity was as you were, maybe get some updates as you were diving into that stake. But, pretty packed night, especially in the SWC. Our game, Olmsted Falls, really plays a terrific second half, gets the better of Avon Lake 25-21. Ridgeville outlasts Berea Mid-Park, comes from behind to do it, and comes away with a 42-35 victory. Those really highlighted games that we had in the SWC last night. And, anything out there, you think about those two teams and just that conference in general, as Tom mentioned, basically 7 of 8 teams alive for postseason contention in that Southwestern Conference.
I saw those last night. Tom will let you know I'm a night owl and couldn't really fall asleep. So, I was on my phone looking at Joe Idle and just looking at the different, from the Chronicle updates and different things, Vince McKee and everybody else that, shares updates and scores. So I did see a lot of scores from last night. The SWC flexing their muscles, showing their power, and that depth of the SWC. When you get past Avon, and you kind of all lump them in, and you realize that maybe Ridge and Amherst and Falls and Berea Mid-Park, I don't think there's a lot of separation between those teams. That's going to make for great games, as it would appear with 3 weeks to go, is the second place conference-wise. But as you guys mentioned, there's going to be several teams from the SWC that make it into this 12-team playoff.
Well, Rob, we want to thank you for catching up. Tom, any parting shots at your colleague?
No, I have a lot of parting shots, but none that I can use on the air.
Nothing
I can talk about right here. So it's really, Rob knows I don't do a really good job of biting my tongue, but I am right now because he opened a couple of doorways that I really want to go down, but I'll wait till that maybe we're over at the Knights of Columbus some night to have that discussion with him.
Tom, go ahead.
I don't put off my breakfast for just anybody, so
that was my thing. I was going to say, Tom, you mean a lot to Rob because he got out of breakfast to have this conversation with us. So somebody did something right on our end of the Rob Polinsky Emeritus Studios here at the Chronicle Telegram this morning, because first thing we did was we sat down and Tom looked through the filing cabinet and said, there's got to be a sandwich or something that he left in here. And it hasn't been that long, so we can figure this out. But Tom graced us with donuts this morning and coffee, and he's keeping us going. He understands how this game is played.
Tom knows how to keep a gig. There's no doubt about
it. Rob, before we let you go, Tommy and I will kind of sign off with you at the same time. Next week, looking ahead to our games, it's Columbia at Keystone. That's our YouTube game of the week. That one's basically, even with 3 weeks left in the schedule, that could really be the conference championship game in the Lorain County League. We think that it is. Both teams undefeated in league play. Should be a great environment over at Keystone. Wellington Firelands. Firelands coming off of a game where they probably think that they should have had that one in the bag against Black River last night. That one went back and forth. They found themselves on the short end of that one. They're going to get Wellington, and that's a backyard brawl. A good old-fashioned Lorain County matchup, Wellington against Firelands. That's our Stream 2 game. And Brunswick at Medina for the Medina County matchup. Both of those teams may be struggling a bit right now, but traditional Medina County powers. And a game that you just have to have on the schedule when you talk Medina County.
Just holding on to some slim hopes of maybe getting an outside shot at making the playoffs at that number 12 spot, either one of those two schools. So,
and guys, don't forget you're putting me to work Thursday. We've got North Olmsted at Bay on Thursday night. We got we got one of those doubleheader weekends, 4 games. So you're putting me to work Thursday with North Olmsted at Bay. And then Friday night, Jared, you and I will be over at Firelands for Wellington and Firelands.
Yeah, looks like a nice week ahead. Weather still cooperating, summer-like conditions. So, got to like that in the second week of October. And we hope for another just terrific week of high school football coverage across WEOL.com and, of course, the Chronicle Telegram YouTube page. Rob, thanks a lot. Hopefully the Flashes keep it close for a bit today. And as you mentioned, survivability is the key.
That's it.
Good stuff, Rob.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Go Flashes.
You got it.
Hey, it's Rob Polinsky over there on site from Oklahoma City, making his way to Norman here in just a bit as Kent State prepares to do battle with Oklahoma later this afternoon. Tommy, real quick before we get going, just want to say thank you. Great working with you this morning. Thanks for bringing in breakfast. And, hey, this whole thing is working out pretty well. I want to thank Rocco Nucci again. He is the architect of the system that we use to put this together, and this format really is working. I think the coaches like it. They're able to just interface with us pretty seamlessly, and we're bringing you coverage of Lorain County High School football and just sports in general in a way we never thought possible before. Even as little as a year ago.
Absolutely. Hats off to Rocco, and hats off to the coaches for taking time out. I know how busy they are on Saturday mornings. A lot of them with their getting JV games going, looking at film. And as we saw this morning, a lot of coaches trying to spend a little time with their own kids on a Saturday morning as well. So we thank them for taking the time out to do that for us.
Everybody's busy except us, Tommy. That's the way it seems. So thank you for viewing it and listening to it, whatever way you engage with the platform. And we want to thank our sponsors again, the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show is brought to you by the folks at Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, Nick Abraham Buick GMC, located at Broad Street and 57 in Elyria. The Cobos Insurance Center, Stewart's TV and Appliance on Cleveland Street, and Eco Tree Services for all your tree care needs. I am Jared Kozar, along with the coach Tom Evans, and we'll catch up with you throughout the week in terms of our broadcasts that are ahead and next week on the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show.